Welcome to episode 250, David Green, Religious Self-Made Billionaire and Hobby Lobby. This is an outline of episode 250. There are 4 reasons why we study David Green. First, he's one of the few religious self-made billionaires. Second, he's the founder of Hobby Lobby, which pays twice the minimum wage and closes on Sunday. Third, he hated school and barely graduated from high school. Fourth, he started his first Hobby Lobby in 1972 with $600. David Green is most famous for winning 5-4 in Supreme Court over Obamacare for abortion pills.
And what so bothered you about the Affordable Care Act?
Well, it was obvious that we couldn't. It would go against our conscience to take life. We believed that if we supplied 4 drugs that were being required by us, that we would actually be committing abortion, and this is something our family just could not do.
What were those drugs?
There was 4 drugs that I'm not sure exactly the names of them, but we provide 16 different contraceptives, but there's 4 after pregnancy that we feel like could abort, and so we could not do that.
So tell us exactly what you think the message of your life is.
Wealth is more than just money. It's about values. We want to carry that down from generation to generation, to have a legacy that exceeds us by many generations.
David Green was born in Frankfurt, Kansas in 1941. His father was a preacher and he grew up poor. He grew up in Oklahoma City and worked 13 years for the variety store TG&Y. Here's a picture of TG&Y.
In 1970, with only $600 and unwavering faith, David and Barbara Green of Oklahoma began a small business out of their garage. With the help of their children, the Greens built picture frames and sold them to local craft stores. 2 years later, the Green family opened their first Hobby Lobby store.
According to David Green, his first business was built on child labor and slave labor.
And in 1970, while working for TG&Y, we started our business. And so in 1970, we borrowed $600 and we started making these little frames in our garage. Our boys were 7 and 9, and we paid them 7 cents a piece. That on the living room table, they would put these frames together. They made them for 7 cents. And Barbara worked the first 5 years with no pay at all. So we've been accused of starting our business on the backs of slave labor and child labor. And the store was only 300 square feet, which is the size of a small living room. And the back part of it was 300 square feet is where we made the frames. So as we made the frames, sew them, we would take the money and put it in inventory at the front of the store. So that was our first store in 1972.
From manufacturing of picture frames to the first Hobby Lobby in 1972.
$1,000 and they wouldn't loan it to me. But anyway, we found somebody that would loan us $1,000, and in 1972, 2 years after we started, our love was retail. That was what I knew, and so we opened our first store in 1972, 2 years after we started making the frames in the garage. I left to open the second store. I was earning $26,000 a year for TG&Y, and I came over for $13,000 a year. So Barbara and I had never created a lot of personal debt.
And the near-death experience in the 1980s. David Green almost lost his entire business. The lesson he learned, God wants him to grow his business debt-free.
In the mid-80s, we had 12 stores, and things were going well. I did very well at TG&Y. I climbed the ladder. Things were going great with Hobby Lobby. And we had 12 stores, but then there was the oil bust in the mid-80s. And the banks were really talking about foreclosing on us. And for me, it was probably the worst times and the best times, because for me, it was about my pride. You know, God hates pride. He wants us to be successful, but can He really trust us with success? And He couldn't trust me. And so I found myself under my desk day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, just crying out to God, to help save us. My oldest son said, "Dad, it's not you we're depending on God." He started talking to me about debt and how God does not want us in debt. And so those were two learning experiences besides really trying to learn about pride.
And now the big success. In 2018, 50 years after Green started his business, Hobby Lobby is one of the largest craft and art stores in the United States, with over 800 stores and 28,000 employees. David Green is giving back everything to God. The opening of the Museum of Bible in Washington, D.C. in 2017.
It cost $500 million, making it the largest privately funded museum in the city. A big part of that money comes from the conservative Christian family-run company Hobby Lobby.
You're going to have a lot of sore necks in this place. At 140 feet long and 40 feet high, this digital ceiling makes for a spectacular entrance. But first, visitors will pass through these 16-ton, 37-foot tall bronze doors with text from the book of Genesis, the arts and crafts chain founded by the conservative Christian Green family. This is not the Steve Green Museum of the Bible.
It's not.
Steve Green is the president of Hobby Lobby, which has amassed over 40,000 ancient biblical artifacts, one of the largest private biblical collections in the world. About 1,000 of them, from Dead Sea Scrolls to Bibles over 1,000 years old, will be on display here.
And now more giving back, twice the minimum wage.
Legislation that required the federal minimum wage to be $15.
I don't think that would be fair. I think that would be, that needs to be up to the very businesses, and I think that
So if they wanted to pay $5 an hour, that's okay with you?
Well, you cannot do that because of the competition. You cannot hire people at $5 an hour. So there's a certain amount of competition out there, as well as a lot of young people wouldn't have jobs.
Was the competition that led you to pay $15 an hour?
No, it wasn't. But we decided to do this on our own, but we certainly couldn't pay $5.
Yeah.
We believe that the principles that are taught scripturally are what we should operate our lives by, and so it naturally flows over into the business.
That the Greens live out their faith is seen in their generous treatment of their employees.
Some of the ways we do that is we closed on Sundays. We try to close earlier, at 8 o'clock. We're only open 66 hours a week. For a business like us, it's very unusual. We don't know of anybody else like that at our size.
What have I learned today? First, the story of Hobby Lobby shows it's possible to follow the Bible instead of maximizing profit to make it super big. Second, David Green started with $600 and using child labor and free slave labor. His wife, Barbara, co-founder of Hobby Lobby, worked for free for the first 5 years. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your questions and comments below. My next video will be 10 Lessons of David Green. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.